Alrighty, we should be going live on YouTube. So I'm just going to check my tabs as I do every week. So
Okay.
we are actually live now, but so I'm just going through each of my tabs and then we'll get ourselves underway. But this is where I get my chat windows. How are you, mate? You good?
I'm good. Now, what do I need to do what did you tell me to?
Okay, so go to Facebook and go to People with a Passion. You'll have to search for that. And then, so that's the page that we're on. So People with a Passion, just do a search in Facebook. That goes for anyone else that's joining us on Twitter or Facebook tonight. I'm being joined live streaming with friends with Coach Joey Wright, who's I won't say NBL legend, even though you are, because you're not done yet. I'm sure we'll be seeing you around the league for a long time. So yeah, he's had 500. Actually, I've been doing a bit of research there, Joey. If you are you working out what you got to do there? So
Yeah, I think so. I'm looking forward to it.
So if you go to People with a Passion, you'll see the live stream. You click, it should offer you to start a watch party. That's probably the best option. And that goes for anyone who might be joining us this evening. If you want to join in the chat, we'll be checking the chat windows throughout the evening to take some questions. Some of the questions we'll answer, but I might get you to drop your volume to on one of your devices there, Joey, if you could.
Okay.
I'm not sure which one that is.
I think I found the people with the passengers. Yeah. Okay. Share. So which is that? Do I need to drop it now?
That should be, yeah. No, as long as you can hear me.
I can hear you fine.
Yeah, no worries. I don't. If I go back through it. So we got VDog just logged in. So shout out to VDog who signed into the.
What's up, VDog? How you doing, brother?
So haven't spoken to him for a little while. We used to have a few chats. But what have you been doing during this down period, mate? You're my sixth interview. I've been locked down in lockdown. So you're number 6 or 6 weeks, mate. We've all been behind closed doors. What have you been doing with yourself?
Well, we here in South Australia, we're moving around a little bit more. I think over the next week so, some restrictions here may be lifted a little bit, but we haven't been as stringent as Victoria or Queensland, and really haven't, I guess, as the need to be. But I've been got my man cave all figured out and decorated. I've painted everything I can paint, and the lawn looks great. So I've been doing a lot of stuff around the house, but got a new pup here recently, so that's keeping me busy most of the day. But the great thing is here we still can get out and work out. So we've had a group of probably 8, 9 from 11 to 12 and 12 to 1 during the break. Still working out outdoors. At just a local park. So I've actually still got my basketball fix in a little bit.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like your garage, but is that your man cave you sorted out now? Is that where you
I've sorted out I've converted the garage into a man cave, so got me a couch, TV out here, just to get away a little bit.
What's the painting behind you? It looks like Muhammad Ali from here, but I can't see who it is.
That is Muhammad there, and if you take another look, that's Muhammad there as well. So that's my sporting idol.
I was going to ask.
Yeah, that's my sporting idol. Like I grew up. That was my dad's idol, and my dad probably encouraged me to become an idol. But I've actually met him once, and it was just unbelievable when I met him. The magnitude and the power that this guy has is just unbelievable. Like I met him in Louisville, Kentucky. And I went up to him and I said, big fan, I want to introduce yourself. And he reached out to shake my hand and then put his fist up like this and said, always keep your hands ready.
Yeah.
And I thought that was the coolest thing ever. I was about 23 years old, and I just thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, that is pretty cool, mate. And it's good advice because life's a fight, and he's letting you know that you got to be ready at any time. So
anytime.
That's it. No, that's pretty cool. So, have you read any of the stories of Cassius Clay and Muhammad, the history and things like that, or?
Yeah, I read the biography on him, and autobiography, and just everything I could get on him. I read. study who he was, and what the reason I liked him because he was a great athlete, but he also was a social activist as well. So he cared about the environment, cared about the people around him, and wanted the plight of the Afro American in the U.S. to do better and be better. And he gave up a lot. I mean, he gave up his belt. He gave up a lot to hold true to who he was. And he was almost banished and out of boxing for a couple of years as a result of his social activism. But that's why I respect him even more, just because he wasn't just a great boxer.
That's interesting because the often people take those abuses like he did because of what he stood for, but they're actually like they take the heat for it, but it shows and demonstrates character.
It does. I mean, it's been some things. I mean, you look. I know everyone's watched the documentary, The Last Dance, and Michael Jordan was faced with that one situation where was he going to involve himself in social activism and try to look out for what was going on. And I don't know the ins and outs of it in the true story. Only what you listen, so you don't know the true story. But he was faced with that opportunity, and Mike's always kind of done his stuff behind closed doors. He's donated a lot of money to different organizations and done stuff. He hasn't been as upfront about it as some, but to each his own. Everybody has their own thing they want to do.
Yeah. Your big joy, your big boy, Big Joe has joined in, so he didn't take long to join the group. Just a couple of shout outs there. We've got, I think he's Russian or Serbian, Sergey Val. He's joined Jay Pickering. He's been watching the last couple of weeks.
Yep.
Nick Black. So, so your big Joe's in here. I don't know.
What's up, baby?
Don't know if he's going to ask you any questions about if you know anything about basketball.
Not a clue.
He went for an hour. He and Jason Kadee had a competition. I did JC 5 first, and Joe had to outdo him. I think Joe went for about an hour and 40, and it got right near the end. And Jason was on, and he's like, he's like, I did better than you. He's saying g'day. He's saying g'day. So g'day, Big Joe. Thanks for joining us tonight. If you are joining us on Facebook and or YouTube, if you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe if you haven't already done so. Also, Facebook, start a watch party to see if we can get some interest here, so we can get some questions happening for Joey Wright, who's my guest.
Did I start my watch party? I don't know if I did or not.
Yeah, I'm not sure. You'd have to look on your phone to see if you got messages there. So anyone can start a watch party, so encourage anyone to start a watch party. I've just had Ziggy Schutt join the group as well. He's actually watching the live chat. I actually interviewed him. His interview comes out this week. He was a child soldier in Sudan, and
wow.
And his book's just come out. So if you're looking for a late Mother's Day present, I'm going to be releasing my interview early tomorrow. Saturday rather. But if you get a chance, you can go to Big W or Target and get his book called The Lost Boy, Tales of a Child Soldier. It's only just been released. So looking forward to it. Is a very raw interview and hits home hard on the realities for child soldiers. It's an eye-opener. So I encourage anyone to actually join us for that. But I'm just saying if Joe's got any questions. So he's got... Joe wouldn't even know what a watch party is, so...
I would, and if he was here now, I'd be saying, Joe, start this watch party, because I wouldn't have a clue. So, Joe, start that watch party for me.
Yeah, he can start a watch party. We've got... I've got a couple of questions here. I might go to one early. It's... A question is, if you didn't have a career in basketball, what do you think you would have actually been doing with your life?
That's a good question. But the serious answer to that is I probably would have worked in some type of real estate in some type of form. I've always had a passion for real estate. I've always worked in it simultaneously to coaching as well. So every year I've coached, I've been involved in real estate as well. So over the past 25 years, 30 years, I've really, worked in real estate for a lot of time doing different things. So I would think something along those lines. I was joking with someone the other night and said, oh, I could see myself being a politician. And everybody laughed all at once. So maybe that was out. That probably wasn't a good answer. But they all said, I'll probably tell it too honest to be a politician. So, but I thought maybe politician. I like to move a group of people.
Yeah. So leadership is obviously in your being. So I think it would have been real estate would have been lost on you, to be quite honest. But you might have made a lot of money. I don't know. I don't know if you've got any investments or anything. Shout out to Steve Giddens who's joined. So he's a FIBA agent or was a FIBA agent. I still don't know actually. You can answer that. I always one of my mates who you also know, Graham. I often say Steve. Still doing the FIBA agency stuff. Is he still a FIBA agent? But shout out to you, Steve. I hope you're well. Dave Burnett, he's a teacher at one of the schools that I'm coaching at. So you're talking about you've been doing your group. You've been able to still coach and train with some of your groups at the moment. So what athletes are you working with at the moment? Who are you working with?
We still got like Jack McVeigh's out there and TZ DJ and Drimick will bless us with his appearance every now and then. Anthony Drimick will come out, but BJ Anthony, BJ Ty, BJ Johnson has been out there as well. A couple, Michael Harris has been another one, and a couple younger athletes. I wish I could get my daughter off the couch and get her out there, but she won't seem to get out. But we've had a pretty good group out there, and we practice all the social distancing rules that we're supposed to, and working on what we need to work on.
Does it look like she's going to get out to college? Is that anything that's going on there? Because she's been recruited over in the US at one of the colleges, hasn't she?
Well, my older one
is she over there?
Yes, Sydney's already at Utah Valley University, and so she's there. But I got a 13-year-old that's here with me now, and I think she's more in the TikTok and the mall and boys and boys. And then if we happen to play some basketball somewhere in there, then great. But I'm not gonna force her. I never force any of my kids to play. I got 4 kids. Only one of them play, or 2 of them play. Taryn, she'll make her mind up over the next couple years whether she want to be serious about it.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I want to take you back a little bit. If anyone in the group's got any questions for Joey Wright, Coach Joey Wright, please take a moment. But mate, I did a little bit of research, and there's a lot of history here, and I don't know some of this stuff. When you put it all together, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. But some people are going to know this stuff, but some aren't. So I'm going to look down, but because I got to read it, there's a lot of stuff here. But looking back to date on your NBL career as a coach, you actually lead the NBL in coaching finals wins since 2005. That's pretty cool. You've got 3 NBL Coach of the Years. The all-time NBL record with 21 consecutive wins. Let me guess, that was Brisbane.
That was Brisbane.
So let's talk. Look, there's a heap here. We'll go through some of them, but let's talk about that Brisbane team because I've spoken with CJ and he's a great storyteller, and I want to get him on the show. I'm going to probably hit him up next. Yeah. But that season of 2007, what made that team so unique and special as a group, do you reckon, compared to other teams? It's a championship team, obviously. So
it's one of those things when you're around a group like that, you know exactly what it takes to win. And I didn't learn that till afterwards. I've been involved with teams that were very successful as a player, but I wasn't looking at all the idiosyncrasies outside of my own role in that group. And when you have a group like that, you know exactly afterwards the blueprint and what it takes. And a couple of things that were really special about that group, Craig, is the fact that what they were willing to give up, not what they were willing to necessarily, how many points they were willing to score, or rebound, whatever, but it's what they were willing to give up. We had guys on that team, Ebby Arad, I think he led the league in scoring that year, who said, Coach, if I need to come off the bench, I'll come off the bench. He goes, I don't care less. He goes, I'm going to be in there in crunch time. He goes, if someone else care about starting, he goes, I don't care about starting. He goes, I just want to win. Now, how many great players? I mean, this is a leading scorer in the league. This is a guy who's won a championship in the league. This is a guy that's, he's, one of the best players on our team. And he goes, I care less about starting. Well, that was important because now we got one of our best players showing a truly unselfish act, then everybody else has got to be unselfish as well. No one else can go, oh, well, I want to start. I should start, and I'll give you a bad attitude because I don't. Well, how can you do that if Ebby's not? You had a guy like CJ. CJ might not shoot for a whole quarter. If he saw Ebby was hot, or if he saw Blackie was hot, he might not shoot for the whole quarter. And then if we need him in the second quarter or third quarter, he'll come out shooting. He wouldn't be like, I ain't getting shots in the first quarter. Now you need me and mope around. Whenever I need him, he'd step up. So their selfishness or lack of selfishness was just unbelievable in that group. Every single one of them were willing to give up something so that we were successful.
Yeah.
One of the other things, their basketball IQ was off the charts. It was, you had guys, Adam Gibson being a young player that year, and Adam couldn't even get into a lot of practices, initially. It took time to even just get in practice when he got there. So he'd stand next to me wherever I was on the court. And some of the questions he would ask as a 19-year-old, 18-year-old was just, I was unbelievable. I was just blown away. He'd go, well, shouldn't he really come off the top of that screen and didn't flare because a guy overplayed it? I'm like, yeah. And then, he'll go, oh, shouldn't they run that play the last time because they ran that last time and he reacted like this. He should have run that. And I go, yeah. And I'm just sitting there going, this is our youngest dude. Like, this is our guy that's, a baby over here. And, but Dylan Boucher and Mark Bracken, Sam McKinnon, their basketball IQs, Stephen Blythe, Ebby, CJ, McHill, their basketball IQs were just off the charts.
Yeah. Richard Balaffi's saying g'day to both of us. So
what's up, Richard?
So Australian New Zealand basketball scouts there. I want to get him on at some stage, but hopefully when he comes up this way, we'll connect and I'll have him in the studio. But a good guy. I'll say behind the scenes. He's really not behind the scenes, but he keeps some people connected with college and the NBL and basketball around the place.
He's helped my daughter. He's made some phone calls to help my daughter as well to find a college.
Yeah. So and David Knight saying Joey's 28-point Supercats game should be on NBL Rewind. So. I'm sure you had more than one 28-point game, I'm guessing. So, what game was that game? Do you remember which one that might have been that he's referring to?
I have no idea. So, that was so long ago. That was many kilos ago.
That's how I measure time.
I'm a bit too fat now to move around. I actually did play 2-on-2 yesterday with the guys.
Yeah.
And I only played 2 games, and I was hurting afterwards. I sat in my truck for about 20 minutes, and then I went back in at night, and I was going to play with them again at night, and I injured myself in warm-up, so that was probably a smart thing.
Yeah. I actually have had the chance to be out shooting I haven't shot for 6 weeks, and went just to put up some shots on my own, and talking myself up, not missing. No defense, though. But what's interesting is you get in your head, you'd go out no defense, and you go, I think I might make a comeback. I'm 47. I might play again. Yeah, and then you bend down to do your shoelace. Your shoelace up or something, and you realise one you're measuring your years by weight these days, and yes. And the other thing is, as you're getting up, you realise, oh, no, that's not going to work, is it? It's good if you can stay standing on a basketball court, but a lot of fun there. But thanks for anyone who's joining us. Nate Wilkins has just joined as well. I'm not sure. I think you know Nate. You would have known Nate. I think he played in your GBL team years ago. Yeah, when you were still a player. So that's pretty good. So I'll go back to some of these things actually. So what else you got there? So the third all-time NBL head coach to achieve 500 games, mate. So wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's the years just start to add up. Like I never would have set out. My actual game plan was to take over Brisbane for that half year and just try to carry them and get them through, and then use that to parlay, get back into a college situation in the States. I was assistant coach at St. Edward's University when I came over. And took over the Bullets job. And I just said, okay, I'll do it, just for this half a year, and then I'll head out. And just realized that in America at the particular time, no one really gave Australian basketball much credit. They knew Andrew Gaze, and that was about it. They didn't know anybody else. And so I said, I'll do one more year, and I'll do one more year, and then 500 games later, and I'm still around.
So I've got a question here about the 1986 film Hoosiers. What's the backstory there? Joe started a rumor, or is it true?
Is this, what's the question?
Sorry, the question is, Big Joe once told me that Joey got a week's work on the as an extra in the 1986 Hoosiers film.
No. Not at
I
all.
should have asked the question. I thought you might have known the backstory because, there's a lot of these backstories. So I wouldn't call Big Joe a liar, but he might have embellished and talked you up in a situation there. Maybe he was out partying that night.
I have no idea about that at all whatsoever. Big Joe, come on.
I thought you were in the Hoosiers team back then. No, that's going.
I could have been. I was that old.
So to answer that question that was asked there, it looks like a resounding no. So you can take that up with Big Joe a little bit later if you got any issues there. So. Yeah, so someone is calling Big Joe a liar now. This is the person who asked the question. So. But that's classic. It's interesting. I was talking to Big Joe about some of the backstories of his experience in travelling and with some of these players, and I know some of CJ's stories. So I'll get him to tell his, but so I'll tell you the ones that he's told me. So he's got the KFC story, the horse and cart story, and the nickname story for everyone.
Did he tell you almost fired story? He didn't tell you that?
That's what I was going to ask. They're the three I want him to share when I interview him. Is there a story there that needs to be told that he might not want to tell?
Well, this is a Big Joe story. This is not CJ, but Big Joe. Big Joe, when I first got there for that half season, he was the manager for the Bullets. And he would put me in the back of the plane, like, I just got with the group. The group would be, up in the nice seats. I'll be in the middle seat in the back aisle. I'd ask for tickets. I didn't know a lot of people in Australia at the time, but I might fly to Melbourne, ask for a couple tickets. Coaches don't get tickets. I was like, oh, okay, that's weird. Everything be laid out for all the players. I get over there, Joe, you got some water for me? No water. I was like, what is going on? And then I realized the guy was snubbing me about 3-4 weeks in. I was like, this guy's a great manager. Like, everything is on point. Like, we're not late to anything, and everything is excellent, except for how he treats me. So when the season was over, last game goes over, and we're doing player and staff evaluations, and I just told him, I said, you have a choice here, buddy. I said, you can start treating me right and keep doing your job, or I can fire you today. I said, because the way you treated me was ridiculous. And he felt like he had to be loyal to the previous coach. He didn't understand, I'd had no issues with Richard Orlick. I didn't know Richard Orlick at all. And then coaches to take over my spot, like now, I don't have an issue with the coach at all. Like, why would I have an issue with Conor Henry for taking the position that I was there? But he was trying to be loyal. So he said, I'll pull my head in, and he went on to be the best manager I've ever had. And a lifelong friend.
I was going to say it's a bit more than a friendship with you two, because you've roomed and travelled, and you guys are tight, if I can say.
Yeah. He became a lifelong friend out of that. So I'm glad I didn't fire him.
No, he's done well. He's been pretty much the whole journey with you. So
he went to Cyprus with me when I went over to Cyprus.
He mentioned that.
Yeah, he went over and he was my roommate in Cyprus with me, and he was the manager there for Applewell in Cyprus, and he did once again a fantastic job there. They had never seen a professional manager before, and Joe would come here, everything be laid out perfectly, and drinks cold and ready to go, and they had just never seen anything like it before. So he's been an asset wherever I've been at. and he was a huge asset here in Adelaide before that as well.
Yeah, so he's sorry, I was distracted there. Bevo's just signed in. I've just seen Bevo. So he was last week. So you said you caught a little bit of Rob's. So he's probably just seeing if he outdid you, I suppose. A lot of competition between you basketball people. I know.
Oh, man, Bevo, no competition between us.
So
He has red hair. There's no competition. I already won.
I was going to say I don't want to go back to what championship do we have the runners up a couple of years ago. Holy, yeah, that was a season that you guys come minor premiers. What year was that? 2017, and Illawarra become spoilers. It looked like you guys were running away with that. That season was, you know. Yeah, I don't want to take you back to that. Do you hate the ones that got away?
It's all fair competition.
It is.
You know, that year we had a great season. We run away with the league, and they came in and pipped us and got us in that series. You know, it was probably a good example of having some veteran, heady players, and you know, in playoff time, all of a sudden, a couple guys stepped up and got to where they needed to be, and we had a couple guys still worried about the previous rounds, and they got us. So, you know, I love Bevo, and I think what he does is great. So I never will have any issues with that.
Yeah, no, it's always funny because you do remember in finals who beat who. You sort of keep a tally, I guess, of like a private tally. It's like I got you again or whatever. I know that from experience because I've had that where people remind you of how many times they've got you. It's not a good feeling. It's not. I'm often on the end of that, so I know that experience. I wanted to talk to you actually. They say what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but one of the things that you've done a couple of times at the end of a season is fly out after the end of the season. Often, I understand it's word of mouth comes in that you guys head to Vegas. Is that just to unwind if you do these trips?
Well, we've only did the Bullets. I think we did two. When we were there at the Bullets, we had the financial wherewithal. The team head, he just take everybody. I mean, I think he took spouses as well, and he flew us all over after the championship. And I think we went one other time before that. Yeah, we did. We went the year before, and he said, if you make playoffs, then I'll take you over. And so he took us over just for making playoffs. Because they had I think they finished last before that, and then the next year he said we'll go back and it'll be better if you win it. So we won it the next year, and we had a great time over there. It was unbelievable. But every time after that, I've never been back as a group since then. I've only been back to NBA Summer League. Jessica D, definitely my interview is better than yours.
Oh, I don't know what's going on. This we are on again, so we're live, by the way, mate. But I'm having a bit of problem still here with my end, so just got to try and reconnect some stuff. I'm not sure. That's first time that's happened in the last what is it? 6 weeks, so I can't do anything about it. Just
That's all right.
All right, so we are back. Just to let you know,
Jason,
we are back.
You don't even know what you're doing. You're right, Jason. I don't.
So we got some people joining back. So we're talking about the Las Vegas trips. We're in the middle, and you just finished telling that you went back for the summer league. So we might continue there. So, and I was asking, like, how hard is it to recruit from there, knowing that there's guys that potentially could end up with contracts in maybe the NBA 2 ways, or in a G League team. Like, how hard is it? Like, are you looking at guys and then finding that they're not there? By the way, I'm not sure, but I can't see you on camera. I think you've blocked your camera with your phone, mate.
You see me now?
Yeah, that's it. I think you
Can you
put
see
your
me?
yeah. I think you
Uh,
put your phone out. So if Jason's watching, you're right, mate. He put the phone over the
oh.
camera. I can
Can you
blame.
see me now?
Yeah, you're good. I can blame you for the internet going down. No one know. so, so yeah, you're streaming on your phone as well. Actually, is
Oh,
what
am
you're
I?
doing. Yeah, you've gone live on your phone, but that's cool. They can watch on yours or mine,
Yeah.
but they're not going to hear me necessarily like ask questions. So yeah. So are you able to answer that question around your what do you what do so what are you looking for? Like, how hard is it to pick someone when they're potentially going to have a contract, and you might be looking at someone and only find out later that they're not up for grabs?
Well, you go over on different tiers when you go over to the Summer League. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you know what your budget is when you go over there. So it's certain players that you're not even looking at because you're not in their price range or their budget range. So you have to be very selective about the 15. If you're looking at a point guard, the 15 point guards that are in your price range that are going to be there. How much time are you going to get a chance to go out and watch them, see them, and really evaluate them? What I've been able to do is take over a group of people. So we'll take over 5 or 6 coaches from here. Australia will take 5 or 6 coaches from America. We all get together. I give them scouting assignments. So they go out and they got a guy that they're going to watch for 3 games. We meet up in the morning, um, and we meet up in the morning at breakfast, and everybody gives a evaluation. Yeah, now the guy I watched, he was horrible. You can't do this, do that, do that. And then we rotate, and another guy we may look at another. We rotate groups, so I won't look at the same 3 anymore, and we just try to narrow it down till we get it down to 4 or 5 guys. If you get a chance to work them out over there, that's great. And you bring them in, and Eric Jacobson, I was able to bring him in and put him through a workout, and just meeting him right away. I was like, I want this kid. Like he was great. So um, it is a process. It's a big process, but it's a lot of fun. Like I literally do not have that much fun doing anything. Like it's basketball from 8 in the morning to 8 at night, and it's every level you can imagine. It's not just the NBA guys there. You have the Korean team, Korean camp there. You had a Nigerian camp. You have Euro League camp. So it's unbelievable. It's just a great opportunity.
And how much sharing of knowledge do you find in those environments? Are you there? Are you too busy to do that, or do you bounce ideas and talk to people? Like, is there an opportunity for that sort of networking?
No, definitely. Like I'm trying while I'm there in Vegas. I'm trying to learn as much as I can while I'm scouting. When I went with Utah that year, the whole time I'm just looking, learning, and writing stuff down. I wasn't at any point really. I'm not changing the way the game's being played out there. As a coach or a so-called coach in that situation, I'm really just there to learn. I'm not coaching anybody. I'm just there to learn and look at what coaches are doing and why they're doing it and how the players respond to it. And it was a great learning opportunity for me.
Yeah. So, got a question for you. Another Joe story that he's told someone. So this could go either way. So, you played against Michael Jordan and blocked him.
Not true.
I
We
don't know.
go 0 for 2 right now.
I'm starting the only D Joey ever played, according to Big Joe. I think that they're stitching Big Joe up tonight. These guys. I think he's getting the stitch up here a little bit. I think there's going to be some stories coming hard and fast. Jamal has popped in too, so you've done some workouts with Jamal
Yeah.
Roberto.
Oh, I
So
got some great video footage on Jamal, working him out. Great young talent. Great young talent.
yeah, so I think he's back in my neck of the woods. I actually played against his dad and coached against his dad, but I don't remember ever winning anything against his dad. I can remember.
Vern
But,
was the real deal. Like a lot of people, he's so unassuming and he's so quiet, such a nice guy. And he didn't play in the NBL, so people, kind of don't give him the credit. But back then, a lot of guys, Pop Dickerson, and those guys, they didn't play in the NBL because they were making more money playing in the second state league. And Vern was one of them guys that just flat out give you buckets. Flat out give you buckets.
You couldn't guard him because he didn't shoot from the 3-point line that everyone else did. He was one of these guys that'd pull up from like a quarter court and just let it fly, and you'd be waiting back at the 3-point line. And I mean, he has height on me, but I did guard him in a couple of games up at the domestic comp that I played in. You don't guard him because he just shoots. So he's good. He was a good player at the time. And actually, Jamal, I think if it wasn't Jamal, it might have been his brother, but I think he'll correct me if I'm wrong, but coached him at a club level as a junior for one season, but he was very versatile. But it might have been his brother. I can't remember whether it was him or his brother that I actually coached that year. But that's going back over a decade ago. So, but very good family, like very good basketball mind too. The Vern. So,
just great family all together, all around. They're just really great people, just nice people, but just great talented as well. Very talented.
You mentioned Clarence there, Pop Dickerson. Back in the day, I coached at a couple of his camps, and he used to have, I don't know if you remember, because you would have been a player at the time, he used to have camps in every state. Super camps, but they were in every state. Now he just runs them out of, like, Toowoomba. But that was one of the places I got to meet a lot of NBL players and rack their brain, like, because I was coming through. I was a coach in that environment, but there was, Al Green was there, Steve Carfino, a whole heap of, Derek Rucker coach there. I think Dean Newtoff was there. So I just latched onto him and asked him a million questions as a player and a coach at the time. And some of the things that I learned that, stick with me to this day that I share with athletes, because that's how you learn through players, so those opportunities. But, just when you mentioned Pop Dickerson, it just took me back 30 years. Gee, so did I actually remember that? That's amazing.
Yeah.
So, but I'll pull out if anyone's got any questions for Joey, by all means throw them at us, and if we feel that they're worthy of a response, we will. Have you got any questions there, or do you want to give any shout outs, Joey, in your...
Well, we got on mine. I got Leroy Loggins watching here. What's up, the legend? He's the man. My man Lee Toon is watching here. So what's up, Lee? That's my go-to guy, my electronics store there.
Okay.
But if y'all got any questions on mine that you guys want to ask, you can go ahead and ask as well. Not you, Jason. No questions for you, Jason Cadet.
Yeah. So I actually, Leroy probably wouldn't remember, but I did a Indigenous 3-on-3 with him at Nudgee College back in the day when he was still playing. But they asked recently what game, like Bullets posted from their live stream the other week, what game they want people to show. And I actually asked I don't know if I asked for Leroy's last game or the last game he scored like 30-something points. It was at the end of his career, and he was getting annoyed because, the old situation, when as you get older, you get less minutes, and he could still put up numbers, and he was a bit insulted, I think, by it. I think he's a 3-time MVP of the league or something. So,
well, I'll tell you a story. After I retired from playing and I was in the States, I came back to visit the Bullets in Brisbane. I came back to visit a friend of mine who was still playing for the Bullets. And he had told me that he thought Leroy lost a step. So I came into practice. At the time, I wasn't coaching anything. I was just in real estate. I came in and watched the practice for 2 hours. And after that practice, walked away. I said, I don't know what Leroy you talking about. I said, that Leroy I just saw and lost a step. He was 40 plus then, and he was out there in training giving them buckets. Like he was giving them buckets. I was like, I don't know. And the next game, I think he dropped 35 while I was there. I had a chance to watch a game there. He dropped about 35. I was like, he hadn't lost a step to me. And like I said, he was 40 plus. Him and Derek Rucker, Daryl McDonald are probably the best 40-year-olds I've ever seen in my life play basketball. I mean, what they could do. I think Derek had 44 points when he was over 40 in one game. So, I mean, that's unbelievable.
He's super fit. I've
still.
Yeah. Bumped into him a couple of times. So.
Yeah, still.
So
Tony Tiampano, yes, we are. To answer your question.
So, Fanfare's playing some games with me. I'll give him a shout out, but I've got two mice here. I don't know which one I'm clicking. He's basically saying Big Joe's been seen out of the house 10 minutes ago, and the police are on their way. He's taking some heat tonight, Big Joe. I don't know if he's still in your watch party or whatever, but
he was.
But
he was there.
I appreciate everyone who's joining us tonight on People with a Passion's live streaming with friends. Just a plug for me, Joey. If you haven't yet liked the People with a Passion page, I think I've got 32 interviews now that are pre-recorded with people from all over the world. And I mentioned the child soldier that's coming up this weekend, which is an amazing story. Seriously,
that is.
If you don't watch any of my interviews other than that one, I will be happy that you watch that one. It is an eye opener, I can tell you. So, it's coming up Saturday, but and I've had a lot of live streams with a lot of basketball people because that is the circle that I have rolled with for a long time, and a lot of mutual friends here. So if you have any questions for Joey, he said he'd give us roughly an hour. We did lose 5 minutes of time.
No, we're fine. Keep it rolling. We're good.
Yeah, my internet. So I'll go to, while we're waiting for some other people to. I'll move back from my mic. I might be a bit loud there.
Bring them on camera. They're trying to get me to bring you on camera. I have no idea how to do that.
So they need to go to my stream to see both of us, basically.
Can you guys go to
People with a Passion?
If you want to see Craig on there, and you can also probably hear him a lot better.
And you can see
People with a Passion.
And you can see you as well because you're going through the camera.
And you can see me on there. So I could turn this off. This is the first time I've used this Facebook Live on ever. On purpose. I think I hit it one time on accident.
Yeah, so...
I got Benny there. What's up, Benny? Will Scott. Ooh, back in the day.
What stories there? Street blood, no blood, no foul, no by the sound of things.
Exactly.
So, Big Joe, this is what happened with Jason Kadee. This is what you guys do. So, Big Joe's, just saying, but my interview had the most viewers than anyone so far. And he's saying, just let Joey know that. So
that's Big
Joe. Yeah. So this is what Jason and him were doing the whole
That's because he had all his cousins tune in from Dickerson. That's why he had more viewers.
Yeah.
They had nothing else to do over there in Bali, so all his cousins would have tuned in.
Yeah. So we've got Jamal is actually asking a question. What are the three most important things for a player to have, I guess? What do you think? Or three? He hasn't sort of cleared or clarified the. Oh, actually, he's got a ha. So there's obviously an inside joke there. So I don't know if you can check.
One of his ability to dodge a non-moving chair, and Jamal would know what that means. But look, you got to have competitive nature. Like, your competitive nature means a lot. Your ability to go out there and just want to dominate and be better and be successful. You got to have that. If you don't have that, then you're not going to be good. Creativity, you got to have a level of creativity. You got to be able to think. If creative people can think outside the box, so you got to have that. And the reality of it is, you got to have a level of athleticism. The further you go up, it's just some levels that you're not going to be able to compete at. So you got to make sure that you got to have a level of athleticism that competes at whatever level you're at as well.
Yeah.
What's up, Billy Sims? Oh, man. So those are three of the things. Basketball IQ is another one. I mean, you got to understand the game, be able to play the game, and coachability. Those are the things I look for when I'm going out looking at a player. Is he coachable? Does he have level? Does he have basketball IQ? Is he athletic? Is he creative? And does he have competitive nature? Those are the 5 things I look at.
Yeah. It's one of the things as a coach that can be really hard is to identify those in a short period of time. So you can often arrive and find that those people that you thought had those attributes might not. So what's a way around finding or identifying, do you really have, particularly if you're doing something like bringing in an import or something like that, you've really got to do your homework and hope everyone's being honest. Like as in who you talk
Yeah,
to, yeah?
yeah. And coachability really depends on a coach too. If I hear players all the time. Oh, they talk about the coach ain't good, the coach ain't this. A lot of players don't want great coaches because if you have a great coach, he's gonna see you when you're not doing things right,
Yeah.
and he's gonna bring it to your attention. So one coach might be coachable for one player might be coachable for um, one player may be coachable for one coach, but for another coach he's not because all of a sudden he comes to the coach is a great coach and he's going, hey, in the last 3 minutes you've done this and you got to work on this. You were late to practice. You were this, and all of a sudden that player's not coachable anymore, and it's really due to the player. So coachability is a tough one. Creativity, I can tell right away. Work ethic is something you can really check pretty easy by making calls and getting around and doing that stuff. Um, their athleticism, that kind of sometimes depends on what level you're playing at. Athlete for us here in the NBL is different than athlete for the NBA. I mean, athleticism, for some of those point guards that we think aren't athletic, like we kind of think that, a guy like Chris Paul's not athletic. Oh, he's athletic. If he played in our league, he'd be athletic.
Yeah.
So you got to check it out. But you know what, Craig? Sometimes you just get it wrong. Sometimes you just get it wrong.
But
and
you've
a lot of times depending on the dollar too.
It comes down to two that you're building a team, so individuals still have to get on with each other. So
that's right.
So you might have all those things, but there could be issues around getting on with your team. And you talk about the Bullets group and how cohesive they were as a unit. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what it takes to win a championship. It really the coaches bang on about buy-in, but it really is everyone giving a little to get a lot. Like, sacrificing. I don't think unless players are in that situation where they're on a championship team like that, it may take them to be on a team like that before they actually get it, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. If you were in a group of guys and none of them won a championship before, it's really hard to talk to them about those qualities that it takes to win a championship. But if they won one before, they can talk about it and know. And so a lot of times you see, teams like Perth. I mean, Perth is good every year because they got guys that know what it takes. I mean, Trevor does a fantastic job there coaching, but he probably only has to have maybe 3 or 4 conversations about what it takes to win a championship. Everybody else know on the team, and anybody that comes into that Perth system, they know what it takes because the other players are going to express it. Trevor's going to express it. You got a whole group and a front office that doesn't know anything about winning a championship. It makes it very hard. Makes it extremely hard.
And you mentioned The Last Dance before, and I asked this of Bevo last week. How much does that mimic some of the experiences you've had with front office? And not to go down the path of the teams you've left, but you know what I mean. Like how do you see that play out in your league? Is it getting the two working together because you are technically all one team, and your perception of The Last Dance. What are you thinking of it? Like looking at it.
I'm looking at it, and yeah, me and Bevo has had some conversations, as all the coaches do. We sit and we talk about because it's funny. Everything go wrong in a situation, but at the end of the day, it's our name that's on the line that's going out there. And when that game is over, that loss goes under our name. It doesn't go under anybody else's name. It goes under our name. So coaches are very protective in doing the right thing when it comes to winning. And people who really have, sometimes you look at a Krause and, for him to say organizations win championships, I mean, that's and you have Michael Jordan on your team, that's just not true.
Yeah.
That's just not true. But it's people like Krause right here in Australia that think exactly the same thing. Players win championships, and coaches can assist, but players win championships. You've never met, a great coach without a great player. You got to have some great players. So yeah, I'm watching that, and there's some similarities for sure.
Yeah, no worries. If there's anyone that's joined us, actually, I've got a. What are your non-negotiables in a team? Is Paul Foster. So Foz, he's you.
Yeah, my non-negotiables. I know Paul. My non-negotiables is hard work, and that's every day. That's every training. That's every possession. That's every game. Is you got to go hard. If you're not competing, we're going to have an issue. I was telling someone the other day, for me, I could be the easiest coach to play for, the hardest coach to play for. If you come in and work your butt off, you're not gonna have an issue with me. If you don't, you're gonna have a huge issue with me. A huge issue. If you're not coachable, I can work around that. If you don't have the greatest basketball IQ, I can work around that. But the two things I can't coach is fear and complacency. So if you're afraid and you won't work hard, those are my two non-negotiables: fear and complacency.
So I interviewed Joe Lukens, who worked with the women's NBL. I get this wrong, and Fozzie always corrects me. It'll be the Fire or Flames, but it'll be one of those two because one's in the NBL one's in the women's NBL. But she worked with the Cowboys as well. But she talks about embracing the suck when you think you've got no more to give, you actually have more to give, and if you can get over that hurdle, it takes you to a whole different level. And and that's what you're more or less saying when you say it's fear that stops you from pushing forward.
Yeah.
So to hear you say those two things sort of bring me back to that. I actually interviewed her, so she's got a book. I think it's similar. I've interviewed a few people, so I can't remember all their books. I won't say the wrong thing, but Dr. Joe Lucan. So yeah, check it out again on the channel. But she talks about embracing the suck and how important that is as an athlete to take you to that next level. When the going gets tough, that's when your body wants to quit. But she says that's the time you don't quit, because that's takes you to a whole different level you've never been before, and realize how possible things are.
See, that's where you get a lot of trainers, you get a lot of athletes, and they want to try to train at the optimum training pace and training load and all that stuff, and get to the point where they're training like right at the right spot. That can only train your body. If you want to train yourself mentally, you have to step over the line. You have to cross the line. And then that line becomes normal, and then you cross the line again. You have to go into a space that's above and beyond. Now, sometimes you might sacrifice the body doing that. So stepping over that line sometimes might sacrifice the body. So you got to know what the situation is. If it's in season, you might not do it. If it's off season, let's take the risk and see how hard I can go. Let's see what level I can get to. As coaches, that is part of our job too, is to balance that line. But we don't want to create a perfect line and stay on it. We want to jump ahead of that line and be on top of it and try to pull them up. And then all of a sudden you got everybody on that line. Let's go again. It's really sometimes really tough playing for a coach with that mentality. I know Gorgeous ones like that, but that's how you get better. But it is draining and tough because a lot of times people want to go, you know what? We won 5 games. We won 5 games in a row. Like, what else do you want? Well, I won 6 games. Well, we won 10 in a row. You said you only won 6. No, I won 12. Like I'm gonna keep wanting.
Moving the goalpost.
I'm gonna keep wanting it. If you're good, let's be great. If you're great, if you're the greatest Australian player, let's be the greatest NBA player. Let's keep stepping it up, and that's draining for some guys. It's tough for them.
The mental game, the mental muscle is something that a lot of people don't train, and I've been pushing my athletes. I hope some of them are watching this because I think it's what separates. It's what separates the best from the best is they really get control and understand and master their mindset, and I think that mastery of that is important. And again, spruiking, I've interviewed Alan Stein Jr. on my show. I've interviewed Kev Eastman and Brian Kane, who works with Olympians and UFC fighters, obviously guys you know, and they're all in that space. So if anyone's listening that wants to check those interviews out, they're up on People with a Passion, and we're talking 2 guys that are working with athletes at the elite level. I think Brian helped one of the athletes in the UFC get 5 championships. So he had like 5 belts, and he got given one. He shows in the interview behind him. George St. Pierre, he gave him one of his belts, and it was his first belt that he won, and he was in his corner as his mental resilience coach. So, and he's worked with Olympians and worked with everyone, NBA, Major League Baseball, hockey leagues, and helped Stanley Cup winning teams and things. He's been doing a long time, but yeah, so huge on that mental stuff. And and I keep drumming on to my players, giving them the tools, but it's up to them to take on board what they're being fed. So, yeah, that's something I think separates people. Sorry to bang on about it, but I'm agreeing with you 100% on that, because I'm hoping some of my athletes are actually here watching tonight and are hearing you say it, because it's one thing for the coach to say it, but when a better coach says it, it's like, oh, okay, now we get it. So, coachability, mate. So, but we'll just go to the group, have a look and see. Are you back in my group, or have you still got a group window open there?
I think I still got I kept it the same. I'm scared to touch anything here.
It's all right.
So I kept mine going live, I think, and I am watching you as well.
Yeah. So who are the two greatest players you've ever played with, and what made them so great?
The greatest players I ever had played with. Someone asked me that the other day. One, you guys won't know who this guy is, but his name's Kurt Smith, and he was came out of high school the same year as Kenny Anderson, and he was a point guard, and just his ability to understand the game and be in the right place at the right time, his ability to shoot the ball, pass, dribble, get along, to be a great teammate with everybody. He just had some misfortunes a little bit early in his career, and he missed out and didn't play in the NBA. But he's a guy that I thought would have been a big-time NBA player and really dominant. But my college contingent, Lance Blanks, Travis Mays, and myself, as a nucleus in college, those two were, together were probably two of the best I ever played with and really enjoyed and was successful. I've been on some teams with some guys that were a lot better, but just I didn't get an overall feel from them. But Travis Mays, Lance Blanks, and then Kurt Smith, to answer the question.
So a rumor was circulating that the job was up at that university or college in the US that your name was being better. Is that a rumor? Yeah. I don't know which one it is. You tell me, because I don't know.
That university.
Yeah, sorry.
The only university.
Sorry, yeah. So, not trying to get a scoop, but that's a rumor, and maybe it's one that Joe started, because he seems to start these rumors. Putting it out there.
They're in good hands with Shaka Smart. They're in very good hands with Shaka.
Yeah, no, I don't know the history, so when I say that, like, I actually don't, I didn't do my research. You can blame me for that. I don't go that back that far. I'm trying to make myself look younger than you. I don't know how old you are, no, probably the same age, but yeah. So looking at the groups here, just seeing if there's any more things. We're just over an hour, Joey. So if anyone's got any last minute questions, we'll do some shout outs and thank. So the fire. So Foz corrected me. It's the women's NBL fire. One day I'll get that right. I wish they wouldn't call themselves the Flame and the Fire, because they're just too similar. So got Ben Lena. There was a question. This was asked last week, and he asks, "Do you think that Bevo would make a good coach for the Boomers?" And Bevo was asked that, would he like to do that? It's a job that he's been assistant for, and he'd absolutely love to get the head role, and he just missed out against Lamanis the last time, and obviously Brown's got it now. But what's your take on Bevo, and do you think we'll see him as the head coach one day of the men's team?
This is I think Bevo will be an excellent head coach. This is what I'm always amazed at, though. My name doesn't get considered to even be a coach. And I do appreciate the question, and I do appreciate answering it. I think Bevo will be one hell of a head coach for the Boomers, and he's a great guy. He's done really well here. But I never get asked the question. And we, as a bigger theory, we have to ask why. I mean, we just said I've won more games than anybody since I've been coaching in NBL.
500.
I've won more playoff games than anybody since I've been coaching there.
Yeah.
I've been to more finals than anybody, and I don't even get a mention.
Yeah.
We got to ask ourselves why, Craig.
Again, Joe. Well, these rumors that Joe spreads, mate. We might have to start questioning Joe. But it is interesting, because here's the thing with Bevo, and maybe it's because he has been the assistant, and it's like always the bridesmaid, never the bride. And I think that he's taken junior teams to championships and things, and I think it's just one of these things. Australia almost expects it one day, and it's like saying to the powers that be, why are you overlooking, if that's what it is, why is he being overlooked? And then you could ask the same question. Like, I've done some research here, and it's got a lot of amazing things. So yeah, there are good coaches getting overlooked for the. Obviously, Brett Brown's not inexperienced, so let's not.
I mean, Brett's outstanding. You're not gonna, Brett's outstanding. And if I was hiring anybody, I'm hiring Brett Brown. I mean, with the number of NBA guys that they have that's coming back, with his relationship and how to handle those NBA guys, and the assumed respect that he's going to get for having that, I'm hiring Brett. But to answer that question, Bevo would do a hell of a job. I mean, he'd do a hell of a job. He's his ability, to get along with players and develop players, and systems he's run and all that stuff. He'd do a hell of a job out there. No question about it.
Yeah, I do quick shout out some because we are getting on. So Joy Hooper, Steve Catlin, shout out to those guys. Tyler Graylish, he's been in here before. James Brennigan, that's one of my athletes. Gavin De La Cruz, who does a lot of stuff out here. You probably have bumped into him before. Rod Tremlett, good old Rod.
Yep, my man Rod.
Yeah.
Oh, got a story about Rod.
Yeah, I don't know if you can tell it. He's
You asked Rod, do you want me to tell his story, and I'll tell it.
Yeah. So Rod, do you want Joey to tell a story? He's I'm sure you can tell a story because I actually know Rod. Joey didn't know this, Big Joe didn't know this, but I ran the Darwin Basketball Association for a short stint back in the 2000s, and I met as an operations manager, and I actually met Rod then. So and then when I said that in an interview, I think it was with Jason or someone, Joe got on and checked with Rod. Is that true? Was I lying? But I think, but yeah, no, that's the truth. It's not a lie. So yeah, he didn't know.
Rod, remember I said in the summer league we take coaches over and we split them up and have them go out and scout guys. But Rod's job was to go out and scout the EuroLeague camp. So he was going to go out and scout that group. And he comes back and he goes, look. We were at the time we were looking for a 6'8", 6'9" athletic guy that could run, rebound his butt off, didn't necessarily need the ball, get it off the rim, and so forth. And we talked about all the characteristics. They got to be good people. They got to be this. So Rod comes back the next morning. This is only his second day of scouting. He goes, "I got the guy. The guy's unbelievable. He's unbelievable. He rebounds his butt off. He runs around." He does this, he can do this. And I'm getting pretty excited because everybody else is kind of like, I don't know about my guy. I don't know about this guy. So then Rod gives me the name. I break up and I do a little research, come back to him. And Rod goes, what do you think? And I said, well, the guy's been arrested before. And Rod goes, really? What did he do? I said, well, he shot somebody. He shot somebody, and he stole a car. And it had a baby in it when he stole the car. I said, so your guy's out. But we had already invited the guy to a workout because I was so excited based on what Rod said. So the guy showed up at the workout. And I said, we're working out. And I told the guy, he's supposed to be about 6'9", 6'10". And I told the guy, stand up. He's only about 6 foot, 6'6". I said, you're not 6'10". He goes, 6'9"? I go, no, you're not even 6'9". What about 6'8"? I said, you're not even 6'8". I said, you might be 6'6". He goes, okay. He goes, you're not going to sign me, are you? I said, no. He goes, thanks, coach. But that was Rod Tremlett's guy. So great job, Rod. Great job.
Yeah, I had Big Joe saying, no, don't tell it. he's protecting his boy, so they're tight too. Those two, that's pretty good. So actually, Rod's defending himself. Is he? He's got. It was just a BB gun. Whatever that means. Not that he shot a guy with. Yeah, it's just a BB gun.
It wasn't a real gun. It was an air rifle that he shot him with.
Yeah, but a baby in the car. I mean, talk about.
He stole a car with a baby in it as well.
So Joe told me the story about the Tim Tams too. That was funny. So yeah, so it's this is the good thing that's of having guys like yourself is, I said earlier what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes of a team and the NBL that people just don't. Is that your dog?
Yeah, what's my little pup going
Puppy,
off?
your new one?
What's up, Stacks? We got Stacks on there. Ian Stacker.
Yeah, yeah. He was doing lock it, load it, leave it here in Brisbane with Doggy. So g'day, yeah, Ian. And I was explaining, I was saying, so what you want him to do is shoot rainbows. I said, and he goes, oh yeah, I like that, shoot rainbows.
Yeah.
And I say that like shoot rainbows, like because a lot of guys shoot way too flat. They need it to drop in the hoop. So
Look at Steph. All you gotta do is follow Steph's art.
yeah. So I'll probably start to wrap it up for you, mate, so you can have the rest of your night because your dog. And just checking if anyone has left a message in the comments and we haven't had a chance to look at it, then if you get some time, Joey, if you want to go through later, have a look at the live streams. They stay up. You can, if there's a question we missed that you want to answer, you can go through the comments and actually give a response if you like, because they scroll up, so we don't always see them. But I appreciate everyone who's taken the time to join us on People with a Passion, and thank you for your time, Coach Joey Wright. Sorry I didn't get through all the long list. I should post that. I might post that on YouTube so people can have a look at how much you've actually achieved in your short 17 stint as a coach, 18 years as a coach. It's pretty amazing when you look back, because at the time you don't notice how you accrue all those things, I guess. So,
Well, the one thing here in Australia, the more you coach, the worse people think you are. So people tend to forget about all the things you've done because you've been around so long, and they just take it for granted. I know when I first got here to this country, and I'm doing all the research I can on coaches, and I was hearing things about different coaches. And I'm like, these coaches are amazing. They're not just good coaches; they are amazing coaches. Brian was coaching at the time. It's just all the coaches in the league at that particular time, and even now. I think people forget about how good these guys are. It's only 9 coaching positions here. You have to be pretty talented to sustain and be sustainable over time, and it's just some really, really good coaching at the national level and even at the state league level as well. Some very good coaches.
I think one of the toughest things that a lot of people don't give consideration to, because a lot of coaches coach at the junior level where they're teaching and developing athletes that have still got a lot of skills to acquire. But when you get to the level that you guys are at, you've got to keep these guys that you're coaching not only engaged and moving forward. You're teaching guys that already have a good degree of skill, so you still got to cover all that stuff. But the point is, it gets harder to keep teaching them, and we don't know everything. There's so much to know about basketball, so you never stop learning. But at the same time, these athletes that you're working with, they you've pretty much. I might stop now actually because I'm just waffling. The working with them becomes harder at your level. Like
it's still development to be done. You look at. And this is going back in the day. You look at a guy like Benny Castle. He had played in the league 6-7 years, and been a good player, but never really cracked the starting 5. And I looked at him and I was just like, Benny, you got so much more potential. And I said, let's focus, let's work. And 2 years later, he's playing on the Boomers team.
Yeah.
It's been guys just come along. Stephen Black was already extremely talented when I got to him. I just had to give him a platform.
Mm-hmm.
I just had to say, go play. His skill sets were there. But you look at, guys throughout, Chris Goulding, he had all the desire and creativity he wanted. He didn't really have the skill sets initially, so we had to build those things up and get them going. But it's no matter where they're at and what level they're at, it's still things to learn and get better at. And, as a coach, we got to be able to, pick those out and say, okay, those are the 3 things they need. Here's drills you need, here's the hours you need. But ultimately, I say it all the time, we don't get players better. Players get players better. So our job is just to give them a roadmap, and they got to go out and execute and get things done. So I'm never, ever taking credit for any, because every great player I had were hard workers. and they got themselves better.
It's one of those things that I get annoyed at some of my athletes because, like, I never achieved much as far as playing goes because of my height, I believe, but I had a work ethic. But the thing is I never needed anyone to get me motivated to work hard. Like, I was self-motivated, and I have athletes that have said to me, like, that's my job. And I'm like, no, do you think Kobe, do you think Michael Jordan, do you think those guys needed someone in their corner to push them? Because if that's what you need, you're not going to be great, because the greatest don't need someone to tell them to work harder. They've just got
That's right. It is. I never walked in the locker room in 20 years of coaching and gave a speech that won the game. In 20 years. I've sat in the locker room for another 20 years, and a coach has never walked in and given me a speech that made me go out and play harder than I was going to play already. That's 40 years, and I have not seen it yet. I see it on movies a lot. Yeah, I see it on movies a lot, but I haven't seen it in reality. We're not motivating the greats. I got a young lady now, Laurie Sumpy, that I work with, and she is going to be one of the best female players to play this game ever. And she is so self-motivated, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's raining, and her parents are going, get out the rain. Come inside. She's out there playing, working on drills in the rain. She wakes up in the morning thinking about basketball and never stops until she goes to sleep. That young lady's going to be good because of the work she puts in.
That's one of my criteria, actually, is that when they go to bed, they dream basketball, and when they wake up, the first thing they think about is basketball. And I think you get an athlete like that, and you've got probably a lifer, and B, it's someone who is sleeping, breathing, and living it.
Oh, yeah.
And they're the athletes I love to work with too. So I'll leave it there. I would love to keep going on, but we got to finish. So I really appreciate your time. Anyone who's watching, please take time to like the People with a Passion page. We'll do it again next Thursday night. I'm going to try and hit up maybe CJ, or maybe Mitch McCarron if he isn't on his honeymoon. I don't know what he did for that because he
won't be.
No, I know. But I might hit him up, see if he wants to chat.
The people on my feed, People with a Passion, you guys look them up. Craig Rowe, tune in every Thursday. He usually has someone on, so appreciate it.
Appreciate that too, and go check out the YouTube channel. Some of the videos that I mentioned there, with a number of different topics being covered, especially the child soldier one that's coming up on Saturday. If you haven't subscribed to the People with a Passion YouTube channel, please do that. I'm trying to work out. I've got that many buttons. I've got to work out which one to stop here to stop the stream. All right, mate. Appreciate your time.
I know which one to stop mine.
All right.
Push this.
Thanks, mate.
Appreciate it.